Welcome to Simply Robotics, the podcast, a podcast exploring the animation industry one episode at a time. I'm your host, Monique. You can find me on all social media platforms at Simply Robotics, SIMPLYROBOTIX. Now, today is exciting. As you can see, me and my guest are wearing a little decorative wear costumes, if you will. And that is because it's spooky season. I don't do spooky, but she does. And that's why I thought she was like an ideal person for this episode. Now, there's something different. Listeners, you probably aren't aware. This episode is currently being live stream broadcasted on YouTube and on Twitch. This is something I'm starting to experiment with. Can't speak on how consistent or frequent this will be, but I would like to do it for y'all. So I'm also going to do my best because we're like I said, we're on YouTube and Twitch, and people may be commenting. I don't want it to be disorienting for the listeners. Now, for the people viewing, definitely, if you're feeling whatever is happening in conversations or little costumes or whatever, say some things in the comment. Let's get the chats popping a little bit. So first guest, can you introduce yourself? Tell us your name, where you're from.
Yeah, I'm Mahiasin. I'm from Brooklyn. I am the co-host of Extra Juicy Podcast, and I love everything spooky.
Yes. So that's why, like I said, again, I thought that you were like an ideal person to have for this because, like, why not? Why not someone like you? So can you tell us a little bit? Well, I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a learning experience for me because usually I don't know if you went to college or if you completed college. The industry that you work on, I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but this is just an important thing that I also just like to ask people, just, provide variety of experiences. So what is the industry that you work in? Did you go to school for it? Or if you didn't, what did you go to school for? If you didn't go to school, just, share some of that too.
Well, I didn't finish college, but I went to college for film, and I work in, I guess it would be the utility industry. I work for an electric company. I did not go to school for that. They trained me completely. That was something new. I do enjoy doing it, but yeah, but film is my first love, even though I didn't finish.
What was your intentions for film school?
I wanted to direct and write.
Do you try to do that through like, I don't know, just like now? Even like, do you just like write stuff on the side?
I don't. A part of like while I was in film school, I realized that I loved watching films more than I did actually learning to make them. So I had to have like a real serious conversation with myself about where I wanted to go and if I wanted to continue focusing on something that wasn't my passion, but I was telling myself it was my passion for so long, and it was tough, but
I think that's very real though. Like sometimes your passion is your passion until you start really to get into it. And I've said that before on the podcast and like all the variety of speaking things that I've had. Like I originally wanted to be an animator, but like by the time my senior year, I was like, I don't really want to do that anymore. And then I get out into the work industry and I'm like, well, now I'm not even that good compared to the people around. So like, making career pivots. So I usually also ask people like, what was your first job in comparison to what your job was now? Like, are you also, there's like some interjecting a little typical New Yorkers that they start working with like the student kind of program or whatever. So like they're 14, 15 working. So yeah.
for me, I didn't have that experience. I was lucky, like I didn't have to work. I graduated high school at 16, and I took a semester off before going to school, and I got an internship as a, I don't even know what you would call it because I was just doing internship stuff, but I worked at a power plant, Brooklyn Cogen,
Wow.
down by the Brooklyn Navy Yard,
Yeah.
which is funny in how I ended up working where I work now. But after, when I got that internship, then I went to school, then got out of school and worked a few other places, and then they found out I wasn't in school, so they hired me full time as a administrative assistant, and I did that for a while, until they had some layoffs, and then eventually I ended up where I am now, working for another electric company.
Yeah. Yeah. So starting to make, I just like to have a little bit of background about our guests before we dive into the episode.
Of
But
course.
when I was like inviting you onto the show, you mentioned that you actually watched the Willoughbys movie because of the podcast episode that I did for it. So
Yes, yes.
full transparency, you're not gonna hurt my feelings. I did have one guest on, and she was like, I actually had to turn that off because I wasn't feeling it. So, what was your like experience with it? How do you feel about it?
Okay, you know me personally. For the listeners, like I am a very odd person, so I enjoyed the Willoughbys. Like it was my type of humor. It was definitely really dark for a kids movie. Was it even targeted for kids?
It's not that young, but it's. I mean,
Okay,
they said
okay.
so, but like actually, as you're watching it, you're like, mm.
This isn't really for, okay. I can see it for like preteens, you know, because I feel like they have that sort of humor. I feel like they could appreciate it, but I loved it. I really enjoyed myself. I thought it was funny, so it was great. I loved it. And when I first was listening, like the way that you described it, it sounded like my type of movie. So I was like, let me get home, get on Netflix, and tune in.
So now for the main event while you're here is you shared with me a bunch of like movies and TV shows that are either, spooky based around Halloween or like, yes, zombies or more zombies, werewolves, what have you. And also just like usually you see like Christmas seasons or episodes of shows, but we also going to talk about some Halloween episodes of shows. The first one, I'm chuckling to myself, is Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. Now, okay, full transparency on my part, I am scared of Scooby-Doo. Like, I don't know how scared I am at this point, but like as a child, I would only watch the theme song and then I'm changing the channel. I cannot handle Scooby Doo. Great theme song. So I didn't see Zombie Island as a child. And when I was watching it, I was like, I would not have been able to handle this. So if there are some viewers out there that have no idea what I'm talking about, can you just briefly recap Scooby Doo Zombie Island?
I'm gonna give it my best shot because I haven't watched it in a very long time. I actually don't think I'm equipped to do that. I'm so sorry. Just because I haven't seen it in forever. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
So, well, I just watched this last night. So, I do have thoughts and comments on it. Scooby Doo Zombie Island is the gang has like dispersed and gone their separate ways, which is also interesting because in the Scoob movie that came out earlier this year, that same thing happened. So they like end up reuniting for Daphne's birthday, and Fred treats her with like a trip to Louisiana, New Orleans, so that she can like because they have all this like voodoo and stuff culture in Louisiana, whatever. They go down there and they are staying on this island of like a haunted plantation. And without giving it away, it's yeah, it's a you if you
I
watch
don't
it
remember it being a
exactly,
plantation.
but literally it's like chili or pepper. It's a pepper plantation that they're staying on. Yeah. When you watch this now as an adult, you're gonna be like, there's a lot going on here. But to continue, they're staying on this pepper plantation, and the whole thing is like the group basically broke up because they were tired of catching men in masks pretending to be monsters. But on this zombie island, they discover that these are actual zombies, whatever. So without spoiling it, the gang is reunited. They don't have any proof of all the stuff that they saw, and I think that's it, right? Do you feel?
But it's yeah.
I mean, do you have anything you want to add? You're good.
I'm honestly stuck on the fact that like I thought it was a farm that they stayed on. Like in my memory, I'm like did not get that it was a plantation.
Yeah,
And I
when you
definitely
go
have to
back and
rewatch it as an adult because I
watch the trailer, at least you're gonna see it's a big plantation house, legit. They're in Louisiana, and then they show a field of all the peppers, and they're talking about like tourists coming to visit and all this stuff. And I'm only able to make all these, connect the dots because I'm an adult. But I'm sure
right,
as a
because as
child,
a kid, I thought it was a farm.
yeah,
I
because that's
thought
how it's presented to you. But like even with the zombies being tourists, and I'm like, that's not the zombies that would be on this land right now. They should actually be,
right.
enslaved black people. But they even have like this girl who's like, I don't know, she does the cooking and stuff like that, and she's definitely of a Creole to me.
Mhm.
And the woman who has inherited this house for generations is a blonde hair, blue-eyed woman, and she's like, "Yeah, my family is on this," and I'm like, "What is happening?"
So this
In
so it was
Scooby-Doo.
definitely
Yeah.
it was wow. I
We have a comment from Alicia saying that's not how she remembered it, and it's exactly why you should go watch this as a grown-up. And
because Alicia, I don't know if she saw, but before you came in, I said the same thing. Like I remember it as a farm and did not get the plantation message at all. Went
yeah,
completely over my head as a kid.
of course, of course. So why is it one of your favorite,
Because
Halloween stuff?
you said that you're afraid of them. I love Scooby and the Gang. They're like my favorite. I've watched all the different like renditions of them, and I would always watch them to the point where I didn't even realize as a kid that there were so many different ones, except for, of course, when he was like a puppy.
That's the
But
one I watched.
yeah, so that one I knew as like completely separate from the gang as older teens, I guess, or early 20s. How would you describe
They're like
them?
teenagers.
Okay. They get
Yeah. Tall, lanky teenagers.
okay. And I love them, of course, and I loved Shaggy. And I just loved that at the end they were always gonna catch the bad guy, you know? And it kind of made me not afraid of certain things because the the person that they always well not the person but the like specter or it was always like a ghost or something, and then in the end it turns out you pull off the mask and it's a person who's just messing around with them, so it kind of helped me not be afraid of certain things.
That's so interesting. I wonder if I had pushed through, would I just not be as afraid? But there's no way of knowing. We have Alicia also is asking if there was another one where Scrappy was the villain. If any of our viewers can chime in, I'm not too sure about that.
I feel like that was an episode. I'm not sure if that was a movie.
Oh, yes, an episode. That does sound familiar. Comments like, yes, there was. There was one. Yes, Scrappy was the villain.
Sisters, yes.
They're also talking about the live action movies in the chat. Did you watch those as well?
I watched the first one. I by the time the second one came out, I don't think I was really like checking for it, to be honest. I probably like looked at the trailer and was like, "Oh, that looks cool," and then completely forgot to go
I
see
hear
it.
you. I just
But
like
the
the
first
live
one, I
action
loved it
of
because
everything. I'm sorry talking over you.
no, you're fine. And I think that they did like perfect casting with the live action
I
movie.
would agree. The Shaggy live action Shaggy is pretty good.
I
Yeah.
even enjoyed Freddie Prinze Jr. as Fred. I
Yeah.
really did. So I
So
enjoyed
who's
it.
your favorite character from Scooby-Doo?
Shaggy, of course.
That's funny just because that I've had a guest on the show that dislikes Shaggy and that trope of a character, like, like the kind of spaced out, like
Okay, I can get it.
whatever. Yeah. So who's your least favorite character?
I would say, damn, this. I mean, sorry, I don't want to curse.
It's okay. I appreciate it.
I'd have to go with Fred just because it's not that I don't like him, but he's always kind of like pushing Shaggy off to the side, and like I don't know, he's kind of like he just reminds me of a jerk,
Oh,
like his style of dress, um, just the way he looks. He looks punchable, but it's not that I don't like him, you know. But if I had to choose, he would be my least favorite.
okay. So with that being said, too, I just messed up my follow up. Oh, did you see Scoob then? The one that came out this year?
I did not.
Okay, I don't think you would like Fred in that at all. But
Was
I
he a
think
jerk?
that's partially intentional. Like,
Okay,
they
but
make them.
yeah, they do that a lot, and like in a lot of episodes, because I feel like he's supposed to be the antithesis to Shaggy, where Shaggy is like more laid back, and like he's the one who's supposed to like take charge and do all of those things. So
Yeah, and for Scoob, they just really present him as like this all American, perfect guy, and I
mhm.
think that's really just what makes it annoying. Cause like,
But
yeah,
that's always who he's been. Like I've always seen him as that type of character. So he,
yeah. Your second film that you have listed is Monster House. So I hope I didn't get to watch this one. So you're gonna have to you have to tell the people what it's about.
okay, it's a without spoiling it. I'm just gonna give it to you very quick and short. It's
Okay.
about a kid. It's about a group of kids who go into a monster house, pretty much. Like that's literally what it's about.
Oh no, you have to give a little bit more than that. Come on.
Okay, so I can't remember if he moves into the house or I think it was a neighbor's house. And for some reason, I'm trying to remember. I'm sorry. I'm really trying to remember if it was his house or the neighbor's house. But I know that they end up in the house because they're looking for something. If I'm remembering correctly. I'm sorry, guys. These are movies that I loved. Like I haven't watched in ages.
And sometimes it's like that.
But the reason it's one of my favorites from what I remember is just because of the art style and just like the dialogue of the movie. Like it kept me entertained throughout the entire thing. And whenever I see it, like if it's on, I'll put it on, even if it's just to be in the background for
Oh,
me to
okay.
listen to it. It's like one of those.
Yeah, for me, I didn't get to watch it yet, but was never interested in the art style. So,
Mm.
I'm gonna have to push through that. Yeah, because it's like it's just like like I say, like there's this like standard way of 3D trying to depict humans and kids and stuff like that. And it's sometimes they try to be like realistic but still have somewhat of a style. And I just feel like pick a side, like either push the boundaries and be stylistic or whatever, or I guess be a wannabe like game appearance type of thing. So when things kind of straddle in the middle, I just feel like there's no real appeal of it. You're just this looks like a human, but what are we doing?
That's
Um,
interesting. Because like as just a viewer or like a consumer, I wouldn't think of those things, you know?
yeah,
That's
my eyes
interesting.
can't do it. But since you said like the dialogue, I definitely want to get through like your list. So, do you have a favorite character and a least favorite character?
In that movie, no.
Oh, you just no?
I just like the movie.
Oh, what about the house? Would you consider the house to be a character?
I could. I could. Cause yeah, I could.
The next one that you have is Coraline. Now, I love this one. Just
So
gonna
you
preface it.
weren't afraid of this one?
Well, this is what's interesting. I was older.
Oh, okay.
I took my younger cousin to see it, who could have. So, well, how old was I? I was in high school, I think, when this came out, like late high school at the oldest, whatever. And I took my younger cousin to see it, and she was like 12, and she was a little spooked out by it, and I felt really bad because that scene, spoiler, hopefully not, where like was the other mom like a spider or something like that?
Mhm.
Like there was something, yeah, happening. I was like, "Ooh, I didn't know this was gonna be this." Sorry, like like I didn't read the book. I didn't know anything like that. But Coraline is like one of my favorites overall, just because the stylistic approach, the storytelling, a lot of the execution, and I just like pretty much love almost every film that studio in particular has made. So that's just me. But can you tell the viewers now what Coraline is about if they haven't seen it?
Coraline is about a young girl who she moves into a house with her family. She's not happy to be there. She uh, she links up with one friend. Um, and I'm really bad at describing movies. I don't know why.
Oh, it's fun times. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, okay, and then, because I'm, like, about to go through the entire thing, and I'm like, "That's awful." Um, Pretty much, she's unhappy with her reality, so she I don't know if she finds or she creates, or, like, how would you describe that? And this is why I ended up not being a movie director. Um,
There's
but,
still
like
time. You can still do it if you want.
no, no, they would like, "What is the movie about?" I have no idea. But yeah, so she's unhappy with her reality, and another reality become is presented to her, and this one is more appealing at first, and then things go really, really left, and I don't wanna spoil it if nobody
Yeah,
has
I think that's fair. I would conclude to say that she ends up developing like an appreciation for her
for her
actual
yeah,
reality, right?
mhm,
So
definitely.
why is it one of your favorites?
Because like you said, because it's beautiful to look at and because I like the story because, as somebody who is has constantly struggled with being unhappy with my reality, and then having to go through certain lessons to be reminded of why my reality isn't so bad after all, it really resonated with me, especially as a teenager when it first came out. And then it's just really, really beautiful to look at. in my opinion.
Did you read the books prior?
No, I before the movie came out, I didn't even know that there was a Coraline book.
Now, same question. Do you have a favorite character and a least favorite character?
What's his face? Her friend, because I'm also bad at names. The the friend,
Yeah, I have
Willie,
YB.
Wiley, Wiley.
YB. I have him here. Okay.
He's
Favorite
my
character.
favorite.
Least favorite character.
The Spider Mom.
Okay. So this gives me some insight to some future stuff coming in the episode. Cool, cool. So moving on. I mean, basically it's a cluster, but you said the one that you've watched the most was Nightmare Before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's just go with that one. So tell the people
Okay,
if there's anyone who hasn't ever seen this, what is that about?
Okay, this is the greatest movie in the world. No, stop. This is the greatest Halloween movie. It is about the Pumpkin King. It's about Jack Skellington, who is like he's not even like the mayor of Halloween Town, but he's like the most popular resident. And everyone loves him. He's like great at scares and he's just that guy. But being at his level, he's unhappy and he feels like there should be more to life than just what he's been doing for the past however many years. And he goes in search of something new. I'm starting to see a pattern in the movies I like.
Yeah, right. Now that you're talking about them, you're like, oh,
Yeah,
maybe I need to like journal a little bit and unpack what's happening here.
me and my therapist gotta have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he goes in search of something new. He finds something new. But because of who he is and how he's been brought up, so to speak, he takes back what he saw, and he kidnaps Santa Claus, pretty much. And he gets this idea in his head that he should take over from Santa Claus, but he's from Halloween Town. He doesn't really know how to be like jolly and give sugar plums and all those things. So he just makes Christmas terrifying for the children who are
Basically.
expecting a happy, jolly Christmas, and it's just funny in like so many ways. And then aside from that story, there's also a story of Sandy, who what'd you call? I think she's a rag doll.
Yeah.
And she's been created by this man who pretty much wants to control her, but she too is unhappy and she feels like there should be more to her life than just being in the house with this guy who made her or whatever. So she goes in search of something new and she ends up falling in love with Jack. And yeah, I don't want to spoil it, but at the end, everybody gets back to where they belong and Sandy and Jack belong together.
So when I did this thing last year called 12 Days of Christmas Hanukkah Kwanzaa. So for those of you who do not know, that's when I release 12 consistent podcast episodes daily about basically holiday Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas themed animation specials, and this was one of the films that I covered. And what was interesting to me watching it after so much time was just that in the beginning, there's like in the forest as Jack Skeleton goes, there's like trees, I guess, with the different holidays. So after the whole movie happens, I now felt like I wanted to see what the other holidays consisted of. Like, I wanted to like in a world like today's world, they probably just would have had like a 30-minute spin-off or something. And we see Jack Skeleton in like Easterland or whatever it's called, or like see him for like Hanukkah or whatever. Like I wanted to yeah, those are the two. Yeah, keep it going. So, yes. And I guess, did you talk about why this is your favorite already?
No, but when I was describing it, it sounded a lot like the reason why I loved Coraline. But yeah, when I was younger, it was my favorite movie just because it was like everything that I loved about Halloween. Um, the skulls, the weirdness, that's how it's described, the oddities of the characters, even the Oogie Boogie Man, the just like how they attempted to co-op Christmas and uh when they're scaring the children in their beds. I don't know. I just loved watching it as a kid, but as an adult, I really fell for like how much Sally loved Jack. Like that
Oh.
thing for me.
And the puppets, like, having I went to a Tim Burton exhibit, like, God, I don't know, maybe it's almost 8 years ago or something at this point. And I got to see just like the height. Like, these things are really tall. This I don't think is even tall enough for Jack Skeleton. Like, he's real the actual puppet is very, very tall. But I completely agree with you. Like, it's actually, well, again, I guess I'm looking at it more critically, but on the filmmaker side, like, I think it's really, really beautiful and quite impressive at the time that he was doing all those things. And like, just some
Yeah.
like nerd news, like, he had the idea for this film originally in like the early 90s, late 80s type of thing. And it took him a long time. Like, he was doing it on the side, and then it caught Disney's eye and they said, "Oh no, like, you got to bring that over here and like do it over here with us." But when I was watching it last year, I was also taken aback about how like I wasn't scared of this as a child. And I was trying to figure out, like, well, then how was it presented to me? Like, how did I first consume this movie? And I think I saw it in after school. I think that's what made the experience different. Like, being in a gym, you have those rolling things with the TV on it or whatever, and you guys are all like swarmed trying to see it or whatever. And I think that may have made it, because like it should have been traumatizing for me, especially the boogeyman. Like, I wasn't afraid of the boogeyman, but every time I watch that scene, I'm like, this is horrific. Like, he's like unzipping and there's bugs and all sorts of stuff. And like his song, his voice, it's just like, it's so intense. And I was like, how was little Monique not scared of this? But I think it was like overshadowed just about the actual experience of watching it.
That could have definitely been it.
Yeah.
Especially since you know that you were like, I loved his voice, and I just thought it was entertaining as a kid. I understand the unzipping and the bugs, that would be scary, but his voice, I didn't think his voice was scary.
His voice in that episode, I believe it was a black voice actor, and I was kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, I feel like that's the only kind of voice that could have sold that character to the extent, like, you need the bass and all that sort of stuff. So I feel like, as we've been doing, talk about your favorite character and your least favorite character a little bit.
My favorite character is Jack, the Pumpkin King. For many, many reasons, mostly just being he is the main character, and also the way that they show Sally like falling in love with him. It's sort of like you see him through her gaze in the movie a lot too. So, and through everybody else loving him, it's like I have no choice but to love him. Um, my least favorite character, it's probably a tie between the scientist who made Sally, and I think it was the mayor. And the reason I don't like the mayor is just because of how he like looks. And I know that's horrible, but I just don't like that character. Just every time I see it, I'm just like, I don't like that.
Yeah, no, the mayor is not a good looking character.
Yeah, yeah,
But also what's cool about the mayor is that he has essentially two faces. And to kind of spoil it, but it foreshadows his behavior in the movie, so
yeah.
you can't trust him. We're gonna pivot now and move into some of your favorite TV shows, and I feel like I want to do some honorable mentions. Hopefully I remember it, but let's start off with The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Now, this
You.
show, I love this show so much, so I was so happy to see that you put it. But tell us a little bit about the show and why it's your favorite.
It's about these two kids that are terrorizing. Well, death lives with them for some reason. Well, not the Grim Reaper lives with them, and he's Jamaican for some reason. And they pretty much make his life a living hell, even though he's the Grim Reaper. And they get into like crazy, crazy stuff every episode, and it's just really funny. As a kid, I would have loved to have the Grim Reaper pretty much be my best friend.
Oh my gosh. A Jamaican Grim Reaper.
Yeah, like that would have been so much fun. Like, can you imagine?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to imagine.
I would have had the time of my life with the Jamaican Grim Reaper hanging out with me every day. So that's why I love it.
But what was his purpose? Like, why was he even there? I don't remember the first episode.
Neither do I. That's the craziest
Okay.
part. I could not tell you how I started watching it or like what the pilot was about. at all. I just know that once I did watch it, I fell in love with it, and I had every time it came on, I was watching.
I'm seeing a comment from Hab saying that Grim lost a bet with Billy, and
Mm,
that's why he's there. So it looks like we need to revisit
the
the
pilot episode.
yeah, exactly, and find out how this even all gets started.
Right, like,
Uh,
how did he even get in a situation to bet Billy?
yeah, like that sounded a little like familiar, but still can't put my finger on it. So same question as we were doing before. Do you have a favorite character?
My favorite character, it's a tie between Grim and Mandy, because I love like that sort of dry type of humor, and she's just that character's so good at it. Like the way she's drawn, and like the voice actor, who I don't know who that is, but they do a great job.
And do you have like a favorite moment from the series? Putting you on the spot. If you listen to the show, you know what we do here.
I didn't know that I would have to answer that. I would think, okay, from what I remember, there's like, I don't know if it's in the intro or if there was an episode where Grim is dancing, and the way that he's drawn, and like, because you know how they never show his
Yeah.
feet, but it's, like, and it was just the funniest thing to me. And that's like one of my favorite things, just dancing Grim.
Okay, so now you put me onto this, and I actually live streamed this earlier this week along with the other
I
stuff
missed
that we're going
it.
to talk about. Huh?
I said I missed it.
Yeah. Well, it's still up if you want to watch it, but this is Halloween is Grinch night.
Yes.
So I never heard anything or knew anything about this. And I actually, for those of you that were in that stream, I was starting to hypothesize, like, oh, what if this came before How the Grinch Stole Christmas? Because at the end of it, the Grinch is like, oh, I'll be back. And then I went to my Googles and saw that this came out after How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So then I was like, well, did he come back? And what did he come back to? Like, what? What happens now? So, can you recap that special if you
I'm
tugging
so
on your
bad at
noggin?
recapping, but it's
Well, this is
pretty much.
well, you still got some more recapping to do tonight.
I know. Okay, so the Grinch is again being the Grinch up on his mountain. Somehow, a who like,
Mhm.
damn, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse, but
It's okay.
from what I remember, a who bothers him again. Like
Yeah,
they like come to him. I'm drawing a blank, but I watched it a lot when I was a kid.
I've never seen it before this week, and I want to help
You
you,
should have
but even
rewatched it.
even as I was watching it, I was like, "What is happening?"
It is a lot, especially because it's like the old cartoon movies. Like I don't know if people are familiar with like, because it reminds me of
Oh
like
yeah,
the
it's from
Charlie
that
Brown
time.
movies.
So
Yeah.
it's from like somewhere in the 70s. I can't remember if it's early or mid 70s, but it's up there.
And there's a lot of weird stuff that I don't think translate well today.
No.
It probably well, you just watched
I
it.
just watched it and I was there like I think you need some
But
assistance watching this.
but from what I remember, it was a lot more funny
Yeah.
than scary. Like I remember just laughing a lot about the fact that like just like in the Christmas movie, the Who's there's always one little Who that somehow gets to the Grinch and gets him involved in a bunch of
And
craziness.
would you say that's one of the reasons why it's your favorites just because it just was like a blast for you?
Yes, and because of course, I saw The Grinch Who Stole Christmas first, and I loved that. So, when like I think my dad had was the first person that introduced me to the Halloween one, and because I loved Grinch from the Christmas one, I was just super excited to like now I have him in Halloween
No.
too.
That's
So
cute. In an effort to try and help the viewers and listeners, like, yeah, this Grinch night, I can't understand what exactly he was trying to do, but there's something with the wind, and the wind causes like a bunch of the animals in like this forest or something, a swamp, whatever, to act a certain way. So it seems like the Grinch had a plot that was very the fact that these animals were like being bad was imperative to whatever he was trying to do. And I could not for the life of me as I'm watching. I was like, man, I must have zoned out for like 2 seconds and missed whatever his actual plan was. So I'm watching the whole time and I can't figure out. He's coming down from his same mountain with the dog. And like, yeah, this who is here telling him, like, stop, no, don't you want to do something else? And it's just like, well, what is he trying to do? So he doesn't, spoiler, whatever. He doesn't end up getting to do his evil plot plan. But I saw a tweet from you earlier where you mentioned the Yellow Submarine. And have you seen that?
No, I did not see that movie ever. I just
Yeah.
watched the album.
Okay. Well, I saw that like in college for like, I don't know, it's probably in a history of animation class, we had to watch it. So watching the Grinch definitely reminded me of that. So when I saw you tweeted, it's a lot of animation from that time period in the 70s and like late 60s. You need some sort of like hallucins or whatever that
I was
word is
just
for
gonna
it.
say, yeah, they were definitely on a lot
They
of
were on
things.
it making it, and it seems like even watching it, like if you're not on it, you're just gonna like your head's gonna spin or something like that. So there was a scene in this Grinch Halloween Grinch night that was for me very similar to like Dumbo and Winnie the Pooh when they have these animals and all these different colors and there's patterns and there's music and you're just like in this warpy, trippy world. And I was just like, but what does the Grinch want to do? What is he trying to get at? But
In between the like acid and shrooms.
yeah, right. um, I'm gonna just move on to the next special, which is Casper's Halloween special, which was something else that I didn't watch prior. And I don't know, like I wasn't scared of Casper, but watching it this week, I was chuckling a lot at
Yeah.
this. But do you remember it?
Like most things from my childhood, I'm just making such a great impression. um, I just loved Casper. Like Casper, for me, the first movie that my favorite older cousin Natasha, that she took me to was a Casper movie.
In
Like,
theaters?
yeah,
Oh wow.
yeah, that was my first. It wasn't the Halloween special, but that was like the first movie that I got
Yeah,
to.
like the live action one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
he's like, "Can I keep you?"
yes, and I just fell in love with Casper like from that, and it's tied to so many memories. And then like Casper and Wendy, and then when the cartoon would show, then that became a thing for me. Um, so that it's just tied to like nostalgia and happiness and like good times. And Casper has never been scary to me, and especially because he's the friendly ghost, and he's just like cute and funny.
Yeah, Casper wasn't scary, but I did not like his uncles in that movie.
Yeah.
His uncles, I was like, "No, y'all could go." Um, so from uh, so you don't remember the Halloween special for the most part, or you do remember some pieces? No? Alright, so, to recap it, it's Halloween night, and Casper wants to go trick-or-treating, so he decides he's gonna dress up as a boy, and dressing up as a boy for
Okay.
Casper means wearing a hat and some, like, black I don't know, eye mask or whatever. He's a boy.
Don the like the DC, not the DC, the Marvel disguise
Yeah,
that everybody puts on.
and he's a boy, so he's out here trying to trick-or-treat, and his uncles and a witch that comes out of nowhere, is just really getting in the way of him trying to have a decent time. Casper sees a group of orphans and is trying to help them, but it really ends up making their trick or treat experience horrible, completely horrible. Because if Casper hadn't tried to help, then his uncles and the witch wouldn't have constantly interfered and, like, did the tricking part of trick or treating. So that's basically it. In the end, it's just a happy ending. Like the
Like
bad
most.
ghost, yeah, whatever. And Casper has a moment where he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so horrible because I only made things worse for you." And I was definitely like, "Yeah, Casper, exactly. Like you did make things worse trying to help. Like you're not whatever."
For like that.
Yeah, I know.
He
I was
always has
going
good
through it.
intentions, but literally most of the episodes of the cartoon ends the same way, where he like feels down about himself.
Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
So I mean, I don't know how much you remember. Do you remember like you have a favorite moment from that special?
No.
It's just Casper. Like anything
It's
Casper, you're with
Casper.
it. Okay.
If Casper's in it, I'm gonna watch it, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. So the last TV show was Rugrats: Curse of the Werewolf. I don't know. I don't know. That was like not in my memory bank at all, and I feel like I've seen every Rugrat episode all the time. But also it was a spooky one, so that's probably why my brain checked out. Do you have any recollection of the episode?
What I remember from the episode, of course, because I'm horrible, is very little, but I do remember I think it's uh, Chucky who becomes the werewolf. Yeah, I just like when they give Chucky his moments. Like when Chucky moments are my favorite thing about because he's Chucky and he's not brave. So when he does have his like certain moments, that's what I remember the most about it.
Right.
And I remember the way that he was drawn because like they would have to make things appear scarier than what they are, I guess, or as scary as they could possibly make it for a show about babies.
Yeah.
But and I just enjoyed it because of course it was like Halloween themed and it was the Rugrats and I loved the Rugrats growing up. Like I watched all the movies. So yeah.
I would like to encounter someone who is, a millennial and like hated Rugrats or something like that. I'm like, what happened to you? Why do you like so just to recap, if you haven't watched it or don't remember it, it is Halloween is coming and Angelica, being Angelica, basically tells the babies that whatever costume they're going to be on Halloween night, they're going to actually turn into. So Chucky loses it because he's told that he's going to be a werewolf. And he's just like, I don't want to be a werewolf. And, whatever. They go to this haunted house theme park. Essentially, like if you go to Six Flags for Fright Fest, and Chucky is all in his head thinking he's scaring people because he looks like a werewolf. And he wasn't totally wrong, but he was really hyping it up. And everybody else was just like, but we feel fine and feeling little are bats. And they're like, we love being bats or whatever. Kimmy's a witch and she's like, loving being a witch. Tommy's a Dracula, whatever. And Chucky, yeah, is the only one going through it. He has his character arc or whatever. He ends up being good or feeling good about being a werewolf, let's just come to say. But Angelica ends up confessing that she lied and the show's over. But the moment where Chucky was afraid of being a werewolf, I was like, oh, they actually did push the envelope a little bit with depicting he was like, changing a little bit, getting the fur and roaring and all that sort of thing, whatever. And it was a fun episode though, without giving it away because I enjoyed it. Yeah, so I'll just ask you just in general, do you have a favorite Rugrats character?
Tommy.
Tommy? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I love Tommy.
Why?
Because a baby's got to do what a baby's got to do, and he's a boss, and he's always he always finds a solution for things.
Yeah, I could appreciate that about him. So I also saw a tweet going around that was like basically like who was better, I would say, at like motivational speaking, Tommy Pickles or TJ from Recess.
Oh, that's I gotta go with Tommy.
Right. I saw a lot of people go with Tommy.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, to a certain extent, like, why? Do we just have more of an allegiance to Tommy?
No, I think because a lot of the times Tommy's speech like made you even though he's speaking like broken English, baby English, but it just gives you a feeling of like you can do anything. And sometimes because I think also because the kids are a little older in Recess, sometimes they didn't really care for
They didn't know.
They would just be like, yeah, okay, no. Like, they wouldn't really be here for it all the time. But Tommy has a 100% success rate. So.
I think Tommy's also a really good example of like the blind leading the blind, but like extremely confidently. Because like Tommy didn't really know much more than everybody else, but he led with conviction. Huh?
But he had a screwdriver.
Right. This is true.
And
nothing else.
And he was the first baby that knew how to like get out of the playpen.
Facts on facts. We're gonna see now. Since I have now learned that your memory is shaky, We're gonna see how what we do and how we navigate this. But the next part of the show is to do the one's gotta go game.
Okay.
So we're gonna start with Scooby-Doo Zombie Island. And I have Lena Dupree, that is who I call to be the Creole house
Mhm.
girl. We have Simone Lenore, or I know I'm not pronouncing that right. That's the white lady who owned the house. And then, who I'm pretty sure you don't remember, is Jacques, who basically drove the boat, bringing people to the island.
I'm just going off of my pure bias here.
Okay.
And now this
Okay.
is like a tough, because at first I was just gonna like get rid of the white lady, but I would have to get rid of Jock because he's the person who's bringing people to this island filled with zombies.
Yes.
That's messed
No.
up.
Yes.
You know there's zombies there. Why are you bringing people?
I mean, yes. There's a lot. There's a lot. Monsters House. Now, I hope you remember who these kids are because I cannot help you. First we have DJ. Do you remember? Does that sound familiar?
DJ sounds like a familiar name.
Okay, because there's a lot of people called DJ, TJ, PJ. Like,
Exactly.
I can't help you.
Okay.
There's somebody else called Chowder. Maybe you gotta do some
I know
googling real
Chowder.
quick. You know Chowder. Okay, Jenny. No,
Can
and
you
Z.
Google Jenny?
Yeah, Google Monster House characters.
You said Jenny, and what was the last one?
Z.
Z. I knew who DJ was.
Okay, one of them has to go, and why?
Hmm. These are not any of the characters that I would get rid of, but
You, that's the point. It's supposed to be challenging.
I know. Okay, I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go with Chowder.
Okay, and why? What did he do?
Not to be mean, but he was like a little bit of a scaredy cat. From
Oh, so Chucky would go too.
no,
Get rid of all the scaredy cats.
no, I don't know who's Chucky up against.
I don't know. Do I have Chucky? Okay, I have Chucky in here. Okay, so we're gonna go to Coraline.
Okay.
So now that I know that you like Wybie, I'm not gonna include him in this.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the other mother,
Mhm.
the other father, and you know what? I know you're gonna keep this one, but the cat. You're literally dressed as a cat. You're not getting rid of the cat.
Also, the cat didn't do anything. Why
It doesn't matter. I just threw the cat in there.
I would have to get rid of, even though I don't like the other mother, I would get rid of the other father because he really creeped me out.
Just like why? Just like his appearance, or like
The scene when the first scene when Coraline realizes that they have like buttons as eyes, and the way that they shoot the turnaround reveal thing, that it just always creeps me out.
no, I completely feel you on that one. So moving on to TV shows. One's gotta go. Grimm, Billy, or Mandy.
Billy.
What? Damn. It took no time.
He's
Well,
annoying.
let's see how you do with this. For the Halloween is Grinch night.
Okay.
I have Max, that's the dog. Euchariah, that's the woo. I have the narrator. I have Josiah, who's the woo's uncle, and Mariah, who's the woo's aunt.
Okay, I'm going to go with the uncle because if I'm remembering this correctly, which I'm probably not, but the scene, like I'm remembering, I think they were like, I don't, was it a, I don't want to say it was a car, but they were like driving somewhere or riding something somewhere. Am I remember that correctly?
I will continue.
And I think something they were like transporting something. And
This is kind of, yes, maybe.
okay. And the whole time I just did not like the uncle's attitude.
No, the uncle doesn't have a good attitude when it comes to Euchariah.
Yeah.
So okay, the uncle's gotta go. For Casper's Halloween special, I have Harry Scary, that's one uncle, Winifred Witch, and Screech Ghost. One's gotta go.
I'm gonna go with the witch.
Yeah, because like, who is she?
Yeah, and I like the uncles. They're funny.
Not in this one. Harry Scary is a funny uncle though, and I said on my live stream, which I don't have his name at the moment, but the voice actor, he was in like everything around that time. Yeah, very distinct voice. For the Rugrats Curse of the Werewolf, we have, I don't know, I think I want to, okay, I'm gonna say Tommy, Chucky, the twins, we're counting them as one unit, and Kimmy.
I'm gonna get rid of Kimmy.
Cause she's new?
Yeah, she's not OG
Oh,
tribe, you know?
I like her.
I do too. She was like one of my favorite additions, and Rugrats Go to Paris was my favorite.
Oh, yeah. Um, so we're coming down to the end, guys. This has been great so far. This is We're coming up to two questions that usually stump my guest. And in hindsight, I was like, maybe I should start giving y'all this question. But
It
hey.
makes it more fun, just like me having horrible memories.
That's just the theme of tonight. Which character would you say that you're most like? Not pertaining to what we've talked about tonight, but just like in general.
Oh, just in general, not just these movies?
No, but if you feel like you identify with someone from tonight, I mean, sure.
In an animated film?
Yes, specifically animation
Okay.
or cartoon.
I'm going to say, this is a hard question because
Yeah.
I see myself in a lot of characters.
Okay, so I can give
But
you 2 to 3.
oh, that you think that I
No,
would.
no, no. That you if you need to like say 2 characters instead of 1.
Okay. In based on the movies and shows that we watched today, that we talked about today, I relate the most um to Coraline. Because like I said earlier, not being happy with your reality and having to be reminded of why you should be that, like, that's like a lesson that I went through a lot growing up. Um, but outside of that, I would say I want to say, do you watch regular show?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. But for people who do watch regular show, both Mordecai and Rigby, I feel like I relate to them a lot.
Is that not the 2 main characters?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw like 1 or 2 episodes and I was like, I need to get into this, and then
It's a really fun, cool show. But just especially in my like early 20s, now that I'm moving into my late 20s, um, of just wanting to have a good time, wanting to like have fun, but always just running into the craziest situation.
oh, life.
Yeah, and then their personalities are, like, very much so like mine, in my opinion. So those 2 I relate to a lot.
Okay, so now we're coming down to our last question, and this is the real stumper sometimes for people. But using only animated characters, cast your biopic or biopic. I don't like pronouncing it like that. So you can, I guess, cast as many people as you would like, but I would like to at least have like 3 to 4 people.
Okay.
Yourself, like a parent, a sibling, a relative.
Okay, and I have to use animated characters. Okay.
Only, yeah.
Okay. I don't even think there's any characters that look like, okay, for
No, they don't have to look like whoever you're
their
casting.
personality,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with what's her name from Drawn Together?
Oh, I haven't seen
You haven't? No, I'm not even gonna do that to myself. Um,
that.
I think I'm gonna go with uh Tina Belcher
For who?
from Bob's Burgers to be me.
Okay.
Um, her mom to be my mom. Uh, um,
I'm just blanking on the mom's name right now. What's the
me
mom?
too.
What?
Or I always forget her name, but she's so funny and
Yeah.
definitely be my mom.
Okay.
Um, who would be? I would go with Hank from King of the Hill to be my dad. Uh,
What a family.
right? I'm also a lot like Bobby too. That's funny. um, uh, Muriel from Courage the Cowardly Dog.
To be who?
My grandma.
Oh my gosh.
Just so cute and sweet and
Linda Belcher. Linda.
Linda. Yes. And who? That's 3 characters. No, that's 4 characters. Me, my mom, my grandma, and my dad.
Okay, so again, do it over. Like you are Tina, your
Yeah.
mom is Linda, your dad's Hank, and your
Hank,
grandma is Muriel.
yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome. I would like to see them like all together, like standing
That
next
would
to each
be
other,
hilarious.
right? So yeah, so this brings us to the end of the episode. This has been great. I'm also personally tickled because my straps are green, so they get green screened out. But I
Yeah.
have Jake right here in my pocket.
So cute. Why were you hiding
And
this whole time?
yeah, because the hair. But I just want to thank you all for like tuning in. For those that tune in from the live stream and's been hanging out this whole time, appreciated talking and chatting in the comments. My phone has been going off, so I appreciate that too. I can't wait to read the text messages. Thank you, Mahia, for joining us. If you want, share with the listeners how they can find your podcast, and also, yeah, we're just gonna leave it at the podcast right now.
Okay. You can find my podcast on Apple Podcasts, also on Whooshka, WHOOSKA.
Oh, that sounds new.
Yeah, it's been around for a little bit,
Hmm.
but mostly on Apple Podcasts, Purple app.
Right.
Those,
And they push it out to a whole bunch of places too. And what's
yeah,
the name of your podcast?
Extra Juicy, the podcast.
Nice. And for me, yes, Simple Robotics again on all social media platforms. My show can be found on all platforms, just like Extra Juicy. Website simplorobotics.com. It'll be great if you guys leave a review and stuff like that. I will say up next, the next episode will mark 2 years of my animation podcast. So I have a bunch of exciting news and things that I'll be sharing there, like how you can watch stuff like this. Like right now, I'm testing and trying some things out. So we're watching this as a community. But there's going to be ways that you can keep watching this too, because Twitch is going to take this down in like 2 weeks. So if you want to watch it again and see Mahia's face fumble over the fact that she can't remember things.
My memory is horrible.
I mean, such is life, man. Like, come on. But yeah, thank you everyone and take care. And until next time.
Thanks for
Bye.
having me.
Yeah.